first war of independence was fought in the year 1857. We got the independence in 1947, almost after 90 years. Not because Britishers were strong, it is because I think we were weak. We were divided in our aims and objectives. There were people working against Indian interests within India. So these things probably have ensured that we got independence almost after about a century of struggle. And there are so many people who contributed to the freedom struggle, whether it is Subhash Chandra Bose, who said that give me blood, I will give you freedom, or Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he said freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. Or can we forget Chandrasekhar Azad, who shot himself when he was surrounded by British troops? Or can we forget Veer Savarkar? I visited that Andaman Nicobar jail where he was put up for about 10 years. Even to stay for 10 days there in that cellular jail itself is a Herculean task. And Veer Savarkar, for the cause of the nation, all these people have laid down their lives, have given their sacrifice. They were a different breed altogether. For them, the family did not come. In fact, they thought that they belonged to the country. And they opposed to the present-day politicians who think that the country belongs to them. They were the ones who thought they belonged to the country and they struggled. And as for soldiers, what can I say? In fact, I keep saying this in various forums. I say there are many people in this world who motivate others through their words, and there are a sizable number of people who motivate others through their work, and it is soldiers alone who motivate others through their sacrifice. When I entered National Defence Academy, the first thing that they give to every cadet is that they shave off his head. In fact, the hair is gone from here. I used to look different. When I had this haircut, interestingly, in that barber shop, there's a battery of barbers. And there are good about 15-20 barbers giving haircuts in turn to all the cadets. And it was compulsory that we used to have haircut on all Sundays. It is why the Fauji has a haircut. It is not because to bring in uniformity, or it's not because that there is scarcity of water, or not because it's easy to recognize the Fauji when he's lost in a crowd or when he runs away from a camp. It is because it gives a message to a soldier that your previous identity has got nothing to do with you now. Your previous identity is gone. You have a new identity. That your identity is now has merged with the organization's identity. There is only one identity. In fact, why the Faujis succeed where others fail is, I suppose, because psychologically he feels that he's not fighting alone. It is a team. Although there are flashes of brilliance and valor individually, but then it is the teamwork that is behind every successful battle or successful war. In fact, when I was posted in a place called Nuranan, that was my first posting on the Bumla. The Bumla in Tibet, La in Tibetan language is known as a pass. And I was posted at a place called Bumla, and after about 3 months of service there, I was coming back on chutti. I was coming back on leave. And when I was coming back on leave, I saw this evocative epitaph at a place called Nuranan. And there it was written, when you go back home, tell your relatives, tell your parents, tell everybody else that for their tomorrow we gave our today. And that was a very evocative epitaph that I saw written on a board. And then, though I had heard that probably before, but then that made a lot of sense there, because at Nuranan, it's near a place near Sela, again La is a pass, Sela is a place where there is a mountain pass. And at that place, the guy called Sipai Jaswant Singh Rawat, from Indian Army again, this man in the year 1962, when he was fighting against the Chinese, he fought single-handedly, along with probably help and support of some civilians. Single-handedly, he was able to stall the brigade advancing on that axis. And he alone, I believe, was responsible to kill about 250 to 300 Chinese soldiers. And he held their attack for good about 2 days. And when these Chinese got to know that this single man trying to hold their attack, after about 2 days, when they eventually were able to or successfully captured that feature, they chopped off his head and took away that head because they were so very frustrated with this guy's effort. And you know what? After 2 days, when the war ended, after 2 days or 3 days, the Chinese authorities came back to give that severed head back to Indians. Now that is because of the love and respect that the adversaries have for Indian troops. So the beauty of Indian army or the Indian soldier is not that the countrymen love soldiers. It is also that the adversaries love Indian soldiers. That is the kind of love and respect that he has been able to maintain all through the centuries that the Indian Army has been in existence. Can we forget a battle called Razangla? That was in 1962 again. And at Razangla, about 122 okay, at this place called Razangla, there were 122 soldiers, and all 122 soldiers fought about 3,000 odd Chinese. And you know what? They were unarmed, ill-equipped, and absolutely unexpected kind of an attack it was. And they were able to stop the Chinese, 3,000 out of them. These guys were just about 122. And when the war ended, and when the reporters and everybody else went to that location to retrieve the bodies, you know, all these 122 soldiers were near their trenches. What it shows is that Indian soldier, he is not the guy who is going to run away from the battle. He has, all of them had their wounds on their chest and not on their backs. That is the kind of Indian soldiers. In fact, after this war, the Time magazine went on to say that, while speaking so or writing so very highly about the Indian soldiers' valor and bravery, it wrote that the Indian soldier needs everything except courage, and that is the kind of image that the Indian soldier has been able to maintain. It's just not about the army, even in the navy that we have seen in the 1971 operations. Now we have seen Captain Mullah was commanding a ship called INS Kukri. INS means the Indian naval ship, and there this man all alone, there were about 250 people, I believe, sailing on that ship, and it was hit by 2 torpedoes from the Pakistani submarine, and it started sinking. And 195 odd people lost their lives that day, and 65, 70 people, sailors survived, and along with some few officers. And this man, Captain Mullah, I believe, when the last soldier disembarked that sinking ship, he gave his own life jacket to that sailor and said, go and survive. That is the kind of leadership that we have in the army. I can keep on going about speaking about various battles and things like that. But one thing that I would like to tell you is Indian Army life is not an ordinary life. It makes a man out of a boy, soldier out of that man, and a fighter out of that soldier, savior out of that fighter, and a hero out of that savior. From a boy to a man, to a soldier, to a fighter, to a savior, to a hero. It's an epoch-making transformation that an individual goes through. Service before self is the Indian Army's motto. I think when I was in India, that again, the motto of National Defence Academy is also service before self. Now, that is the kind of service that the Indian Army is capable of. Many people ask me that are the soldiers not afraid of death? In fact, I often tell them that there's a famous poet from Karnataka, from Dharwad, Dara Bendre, he is called, and that man, he used to often jokingly say, why should you be afraid of death? Why should you be afraid of death? When the death comes, you are not alive. So why should you be afraid of death is what he often used to say. That apart, but then you know what? Why Indian soldier is a little different from all others is because you know that he knows that he is the last weapon of this nation. That I think probably is one psychological factor that is all constantly playing on his mind. And the second thing that he has to, or he remembers, is that he can't let down his countrymen. There is nobody that he can pass on that baton to. So he has to fight that last battle. He is the last man standing there, and since he is that precious stone or whatever that is of the nation, he cannot afford to let down his countrymen. That probably is the reason why. And what does he ask in return? He does not ask for anything. He does not ask for anything. All that he asks his countrymen is to be responsive and responsible citizens. That he wants one thing, that from the threat of the Indian Army faces today is not so much from the borders or across the borders. The threat is within. So he is most concerned about what is happening inside India than what is happening outside India or across the border. So all that he asks his countrymen is to be more responsible and responsive. That is all that he keeps asking. So you cannot pay back the Indian soldier. It says in Vedas, it has been said that you can repay your parents by attaining name and fame. Once you attain name and fame, you have paid back your parents. You can pay back your teachers by doing Vidyabhyas. When you do Vidyabhyas, you have paid back your teachers. By doing Puja Puraskar, you have paid back gods even. But to pay back soldiers, it's not possible because he has paid you with his own life. How can he repay? You cannot repay. Okay, runa. Repaying means the runa. You know that runa. You cannot runa of a soldier. You cannot repay. Now that is the kind of service that he probably is giving to the nation. So that I suppose is very important. We must all remember that he is giving up all this. He is a different breed altogether. As I said, for freedom fighters, even soldiers are a different breed. So that I think probably you need to understand that he is a different breed. He is a different man, and he is different for fighting for one nation, right? He does not belong to. I'm a Brahmin, and I'm sure when I was there in the army for about 29, 30 odd years, nobody knew what my religion is. And so that is the kind of matter of interest to all of you to know that there is no mandir, there is no gurudwara, there is no church, or there is no masjid in the army. It's known as Sarvadharmasthal. Everybody is there together to pray for every god. And the force that prays together, I suppose, fights together and stays together and survives together. So that is the kind of message that the Indian army has given to the people of this country all along in the last 300 odd years that it has been in existence. They have earned their spurs in every battle. It is not that they won this battle or they won that war or probably they came in handy for this operation or tsunami or floods or earthquake and things like that. If somebody asks me about Indian soldier or Indian army, what they have done to this nation, they have successfully or they have ensured that the very idea of India stays even today. I'm sure, but for a force like this, India would have long been. So the very idea of India has been able, or the soldier has been able to ensure that he has been able to maintain this very idea of India alive today. So that I suppose is the biggest contribution of Indian soldier to the Indian nation. And I think when I was speaking to the children, I did mention to them that that sense of sacrifice should be there amongst children. We must inculcate that habit of sacrifice to the children or within children, that they must grow up with that. The aim of their life is not just about purushartha, as we keep saying in Vedas, kama, artha, dharma and moksha. That's just not enough. So there is one more thing to that. They can become, as it is said in Rig Veda, it is said, it is Atmano Purushartham Jagat Hitayacha. It says that in addition to the 4 Purusharthas that you have, you must also ensure that you are of some utility. As in fact, Swami Vivekananda, after his parikrama, he went around the country for good about 6 years and studied, and he came to that belief that the superstitions or ignorance or illiteracy is the main cause of our suffering. And he said, and then he kept saying that. In fact, he kept saying that we should worship Daridra Narayana. The term that he gave was Daridra Narayana. But then people are all interested in worshipping Lakshmi Narayana, because with that Lakshmi Narayana comes Lakshmi, and here nobody wants to worship Daridra Narayana. So that probably is the reason. But you know what? When we speak to the children, when I spoke to them, I did tell them that they can become anything. Let them become anything. Enadaru neenagu modalu manavanu. That should be the dharma of every individual. Enadaru neenagu modalu manavanagu. ಓದಿ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣನಾಗು, ಕಾದು ಕ್ಷತ್ರಿಯನಾಗು, ವೈಷ್ಣವೆಯಾಗು, ಶೂದ್ರನೇ ಆಗು, ಏನಾದರೂ ನೀನಾಗು, ಮೊದಲು ಮಾನವನಾಗು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇವರು ಸಿದ್ದಯ್ಯ ಪುರಾಣಿಕ ಅವರು. ಇಂಥದ್ದು ನಾವು